What is up, people? You are listening to New Generation Hero Talk. I am your host, EJ Stewart, and we have an awesome show for you today. Massive news when it comes to Avengers Doomsday. The official cast has been revealed by Marvel. They did it in a unique, very different way that we'll talk plenty about on this show. Also, some big episodes released this week of Daredevil. Daredevil dropped 2 episodes, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And do we perhaps know some rumors about a potential casting for the future of Black Panther? So plenty to get to on this episode. Again, I'm EJ Stewart, joined by my co-hosts Shamari and Kendall, who I'm jealous these guys are together, as you guys can see. So they're chilling in the compound. So Kendall and Shamari, how you guys doing? Shamari, I go to you first. How you feeling with this big week of news we had today?
Feeling good, man. As you said, we got big news, and of course you guys can see, I'm at the physical location with Kendall. So that's pretty nice. Though I just saw you last week, EJ. So trying to share the love, spread the love. But yeah, man, big week. Big week for particularly the MCU. So we are clearly getting closer and closer to Doomsday, closer to these Avengers movies. So we got definitely a surprise announcement this past week. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
And it's a big week for Kendall as well, not just because of the stuff happening over with Marvel, but you got a birthday. Kendall's birthday is this weekend as we record this on Thursday. Kendall's birthday being on Friday, so most of you guys who listen to this episode will hear it likely on his birthday. He already would have had his birthday. So Kendall, happy birthday, man. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Appreciate the well wishes. It's been an interesting, like you said, been an interesting week, interesting couple weeks since we've been on. So I'm excited to get into all the Marvel stuff, but I'm gonna go on a bit of a quick rant on DC for a second. You guys know, okay. I think I'm becoming a little bit of the James Gunn hater on this podcast.
You're the hater.
I'm becoming what EJ was to Zack Snyder.
I'm not Zack
Snyder.
You're the anti-Snyder camp, the anti-Gunn camp.
I'm becoming the anti-Gun camp on this show.
So you though spreading those rumors about the Superman series.
Yes, 100%. There was a report this week. This is off the cuff, so I don't remember exactly where it came from. There was a report, I believe from the trades that DC was looking at Colin Farrell to play Sergeant Rock, to star as Sergeant Rock in their new Sergeant Rock movie in the DCU. And I, as a lot of people I think that read that, just thought, what are we doing? I mean, first of all, the fact that we're doing a Sergeant Rock movie is a whole nother conversation, right? Like, this is really a smart use of company funds to make a Sergeant Rock movie. But beyond that, when you're casting Colin Farrell as Sergeant Rock, when we've got a Batman Part 2 movie that's already in massive flux, we don't know what's happening with that movie, but it's being pushed to the side constantly. And we have a Penguin show that was the best thing that's happened to DC as a company.
After a bad Joker sequel.
Yeah, after a bad Joker sequel. Honestly, the best thing that happened to the company since Joker. But, it's to take that character, and I know, obviously, if he's just Colin Farrell, it's not going to be obvious that it's Oz Cobb. It's not like it's not really a brand synergy issue where we have the same guy playing 2 characters. But it's just from a maintenance standpoint, and how is this guy going to play Sergeant Rock and play Penguin in all these different projects when we know all the work it takes to have him play Oz Cobb? That just feels like bad business, and it feels like Gunn. Sure, Gunn could probably say, "Oh, I'm doing it because he's perfect for the role." But I promise you, there's 20 actors that can play Sergeant Rock. That'd be fine. The first guy they wanted was Daniel Craig. seemed like he probably told him no because he's probably like, who's Sergeant Rock, but um, but why? I know Colin Farrell's a great actor. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
I promise you he'd be great at it, but. It feels like they're starting to try and maybe push out some of this Matt Reeves stuff, which I think is really bad business for DC. But I mean, look, Peter Safran, gets promoted at Warner Brothers. I don't think Zaslav cares about the Reeves stuff. I think he just cares about the bottom line. So if they're telling him that's the way to move, that's what we're gonna get.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you feel, Sean. I'll be honest. It feels. I know Kendall prefers himself being kind of like the James Gunn hater, and maybe I'm kind of becoming the James Gunn defender. Feels a little, young man yells at cloud. I'll be real. I don't know. I think Colin Farrell obviously is playing Penguin in a entirely different. Yes, obviously it's in the same company, but it's a different universe, as we now have been confirmed multiple times regarding what we think about, Batman and Robert Pattinson, whatnot he's doing included. James Gunn saying that he's not going to be at this point. So I don't know. And then we saw, now I know it maybe lends to Kendall's point, the whole Jason Momoa situation where, it was like, oh, he's being circled to play, Lobo. And what does that mean for Aquaman? And the initial damage control was, well, he's always going to be Aquaman. But obviously now we know he's not going to be Aquaman and he's Lobo moved forward. So I don't think that this is. Right, yeah, but I just think with Sergeant Rock, I don't quite know why this isn't a priority for DC. Again, I agree with that standpoint. I think that James Gunn seems to be interested in these kind of oddball storylines that, to his credit, are his strengths, right? Like we saw with Creature Commandos, we saw with Guardians of the Galaxy, we saw with the Suicide Squad. Like this is his jam. Sometimes I question whether or not he plays too much to his strengths, and in some ways that leads a lot of his content, which is actually risky in terms of just the people he's using, they end up being pretty safe because he's kind of doing the same thing. But I don't know. I have no issue, Shamar. I don't know if you do, with them wanting Farrell to do, Rock. Do I think that Sergeant Rock should be a priority? No. I think knowing what's going to happen, what's going to happen in the future of Wonder Woman, what's going to happen with the future of the Flash, Aquaman, obviously Batman, those are to me way more important in the DCU than this. So, if anything, maybe my biggest concern would be just the priorities being out of whack.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't really have too much of an issue as long as the priorities are not out of whack. As long as they're in understanding that, if he's knocking on Colin Farrell's door and Matt Reeves is knocking on Colin Farrell's door, Matt Reeves is the priority. And then any other offshoots from that, whether it be the Penguin showrunner, whoever it is, anyone connected to the Batman verse, knocking on Colin Farrell's door should have a priority over the Sergeant Rock character. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who that is, so I don't know if this is like a very popular.
No, I mean, they debuted him a little bit. EJ, I know you saw a little bit, obviously, Creature Commandos.
Right.
And kind of the backstory with the GI Robot character,
right.
They showed him a little bit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that was kind of their soft introduction to his character to get people familiar. But yeah, I mean, relative no name, in the mainstream.
I don't know who Sergeant Rock is. I hope this character is not a priority.
And I think the movie. I feel like the movie that they're going for is going to be kind of a Captain America First Avenger kind of thing. Is what I'm guessing. But it's my concern is, look, if you can promise me that Colin Farrell could play Penguin, Oscorp in the Batman Part 2 and in Penguin Season 2, and there's going to be no hiccup at all, and they're not going to have to give him a reduced role of any kind because of Sergeant Rock, and his plans will go forward as they were expected, then that's totally fine. The first thing I'm going to expect is when we hear, we watched the Batman Part 2 and he's barely in it. It's like, he's shooting Sergeant Rock, so he couldn't really be in this movie. I'm going to be like, what are we doing then? Why was he in Sergeant Rock? Whose idea was this to put him in this movie that nobody really cared about, that 80 guys could have played him, when he could have played a bigger role in this Penguin, in this Batman movie, or obviously in a Penguin Part 2 or season 2, he's going to play a big role. But what if it gets pushed back? What if like, yeah, we can't really start shooting until he's done with Sergeant Rock? So you guys have to wait till 2027 to see another season of Penguin. 2028, we're going to be like, well, why do we have to wait a year when we didn't need this guy playing Sergeant Rock? It's just bad business, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I definitely get that.
That goes back to the priority thing you guys talked about.
Yeah, and that's. I don't think we disagree with that aspect. I think it's just I have to wait to see that happen before I can get really upset about it anyway, right? Exactly. Like I kind of maybe it's bad faith, but I kind of have faith that like if Matt Reeves really needs Farrell to do a certain thing, and it's not going to be anyway negated because of Sergeant Rock. Now you make good points about where James Gunn lies in the pecking order over at Warner Media, so. There are points that I get, but again, I think until I get to that point where it's obvious that there is an issue, I guess why I said that young man yells at Cloud. I feel like at this point, but it could be the Cloud may end up being like Galactus and Silver Surfer, Rise and Silver Surfer. Maybe it's actually a problem that we need to be talking about that I'm not that underestimating. So I definitely get you on that. But let's get to some the massive news that happened this week, and it happened on Wednesday, and this was a fascinating 24 hours that led kind of before Wednesday, so beginning on Tuesday and then throughout Wednesday. So Tuesday, the word kind of got out, and it was through like some random leaks from like the kind of people that like you couldn't really verify this was real. It wasn't like your typical scoopers we talk about. It wasn't RPK, wasn't a Snyder, wasn't like a My Time to Shine Hello. It was like a random Marvel leaks post or whatever, and it was like Marvel has something big announcing tomorrow, and it's going to be as big or bigger than Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Iron Man, as Dr. Doom, which had everyone being like, what the hell, what is this possible, is this real, like what could be possibly bigger than that?
So I things that could be bigger than
right. And I think, and to be fair, I think a lot of people kind of, because of that billing, dismissed this like, well, I'll see it when I believe it. But then I saw it around 11 a.m. Eastern, maybe it was a little earlier. All of a sudden, Marvel on all their social platforms and on YouTube posts a live stream that just says big announcement or something announcement coming.
Yeah, announcement.
Yeah, it was just announcement, right? It's just announcement. And what then ensued was the casting chairs that you would see for like on a set, on a movie set, and all of them, it was a hours long live stream that had the names of all the actors that we then learned were going to be officially cast and are a part of Avengers Doomsday, which is officially, according to Marvel, in production. So it was very weird to start this thing. And beginning with Chris Hemsworth, to see a Chris Hemsworth chair.
At first I was like, oh, is this Thor? Are we getting something Thor related? I was like, this definitely can't be bigger than Robert Downey.
Yeah.
And then it
goes to Vanessa Kirby, which you're like, okay. And I think at that point, people started to think, oh, is this maybe Avengers something? Like, and it wasn't by the third one, which I believe was Anthony Mackie, then they posted a tweet, which I don't know was by design. I think it maybe people were, because there was so much confusion. They then posted a tweet that showed those three and then put in like Avengers Doomsday in production, which I think then got people to understand what was happening. But when I tell you guys these reveals of each chair, this was not this is a little 5-minute video and we're done. I mean, every reveal took about 15 to 20 minutes to happen. So you just be sitting there watching a stream of just a chair. I mean, my fiance is walking around. She's like, "What are you watching? What is this?" I'm like, I'm watching to see who else is going to be in this movie. This is how they're doing this. And it was interesting to see, from my opinion, guys, how much I feel like the public dialogue changed as JR would say, business picked up in terms of the big names in this cast. So to tell you guys some of the cast members that will be in it, so it's a lot of the people you would expect from just the people that have been the big pack characters in the multiverse era, right? So Anthony Mackie, as we mentioned, Chris Hemsworth, Simu Liu's returning as Shang-Chi. We're going to get the entire Thunderbolts team. We're also going to get the Sentry, who's the villain of the Thunderbolts movie, which I think was interesting to some people that they revealed that. We're going to get all these characters. No Eternals. The Eternals were not mentioned in any of this. But New Falcons in there. This was in the Fantastic Four. Were in there. So all those characters you would expect, and of course some of the OG Avengers. Paul Rudd. I thought his reveal was kind of funny. That was a tiny chair. Paul Rudd was in there. So those some of the people you would expect to see. Letitia Wright returns as Black Panther.
Namor was interesting.
Namor will be in this movie.
Yeah,
Huerta will be in this film. Winston Duke will be in this film playing M'Baku. So you got the Wakanda Black Panther side of this and this. But then business picked up because it was towards the end of this when the X-Men music starts playing, and every time there was a chair reveal, X-Men music played. Random, like most of the music was related to like the characters that we were talking about. So it was Ant-Man. You might see Paul Rudd or Evangeline Lilly, who's also going to be in this film. If it was Black Panther, you heard Black Panther music. Then it was like it was someone like Letitia Wright. There's some music I wasn't familiar with, and I kind of wonder if this is music that hasn't been revealed for scores for movies we haven't seen.
We heard the Fantastic Four theme,
Yeah, Fantastic Four theme was in there, obviously, yes. But then business picked up when the X-Men music started playing. And that's when I was like, oh, what's going on? And the first reveal ended up being Patrick Stewart, which I think, again, kind of was like, oh, okay. We're going to see Professor X get killed again? Like, how many times are we going to see this?
Kelsey Grammer, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, to be fair, yes, Kelsey Grammer was... Yes, he was, but he wasn't with the X-Men music. I think he just
he wasn't with the X-Men music. Yeah, he was a little bit
early. They just showed him. I was like, oh, shoot. Okay.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, but later on, it was when the X-Men music played. And this was X-Men 97 music. So again, I don't know if this means that this is a precursor to what like we could expect from an official movie score for X-Men. But they played X-Men 97 music to reveal Professor X Charles Xavier, which was, of course, Patrick Stewart. So like, okay, we've seen him in a movie before, but then it started to get interesting because then you get Ian McKellen, then you get Alan Cumming, then you get Channing Tatum, and Rebecca Romijn. And you're like, oh wow! So we're bringing a lot of OGs back for this film, confirmed. So that's Magneto, Nightcrawler, Mystique. Obviously, Beast we mentioned earlier, and then Channing Tatum's Gambit, who we saw in Wolverine and Deadpool. And then the video ended. And James Marden as Cyclops. That was one of the largest ones in those reveals. And then that's when we got to the end of it, which ended up being Robert Downey Jr. sitting in the chair.
Pedro Pascal, right before Robert Downey.
Pascal, which I thought was that actually made me excited. There's so many things we got to break down with this, but I'm gonna start. Typically, I thought that this started like as a horrendous idea, in my opinion, and kind of turned into a brilliant idea, which I don't know what that actually means. Like, did it actually work, or was it smart to do it this way? But I think history will show that this was. I mean, I've seen the social response to this reveal they did surpass the first Deadpool Wolverine trailer, apparently, which is insane to me.
I mean, the live numbers, as we were all following it, like, depending on the platform we were looking at, like Twitter, it was getting to like 8-9 million people watching it at a time. I mean, that's hard to get anything nowadays on a live stream. We had that many people watching anything at one time. And again, that's just on that. It was also streaming on Instagram and also streaming on probably Twitch and obviously on YouTube. They must have had
Marvel. Yeah, Marvel has multiple YouTube accounts, and they all were streaming it, and they all had huge numbers.
Yeah, I mean, they must have had at one time over 20, 30 million people watching that thing at once. I mean, live. That's not even counting the people that have probably subsequently seen the edited version, like after the fact. So, I mean, we can say they were idiots. I thought it was a ridiculous idea as it was going on. I will say I agree with you that. By the time it got to Ian McKellen and started showing the X-Men, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, how they're doing this. Because also, like, once you figure out what they're doing, and you can kind of figure out the timing of it, you can kind of go away. Like, you don't have to watch it the whole time. Like, but when it first started, I was like, I just have to sit here and watch this thing the whole time.
Oh, yeah, I took a nap during it. Like, I dozed off like an hour.
Yeah, but eventually I was like, I'm just going to rewind. Yeah, who did I miss?
I just went on Twitter and said, okay, who did I miss? Like, okay, those people are cool. And then I kept kept it on. I had to do something else, came back in there and see who was up
Right.
there. Like
It kind of, like I told you guys, like it kind of played almost like a draft or like a selection show in sports, where it's like it almost felt like an all-star game. Like the beginning of it felt like an all-star game selection, where you're watching an NBA all-star starters announcement, and you're like, I know who they are. I know the 10. Just tell me. But imagine if they took 10 minutes to announce every person. You're like, and the next person is LeBron James. Like, oh my God, LeBron's an all-star. Like, that's how it felt. Where again, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan being in this movie is not a surprise at all. But once they started giving you surprises, then it was worth the wait. Then it was like, look, I'll wait 12 minutes for you to tell me who the next major person is, because for like people, there were obviously plenty of people live streaming, that engagement and just talking about it.
Yeah.
And for those people, like if you were streaming it or if you were just tweeting it, if you had 12 to 15 minutes, like you could do 12 to 15 minutes just talking about the fact that Ian McClellan's in the movie. What does this mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Alan Cummings in, and you're like, oh snap. So reading Nightcrawler, what does this mean? Oh snap. We've got, Pedro Pascal, here right next to Robert Downey. Like those are actually stories. Channing Tatum's a massive thing. So
Yeah.
I can't totally knock them, because again, they probably did crazy numbers. If this is what they were trying to do, which I don't think it was. Like I don't think they thought, let's make it super long so that we can, milk as many views as possible. I feel like they just came to a really weird, arbitrary number that ended up not working, but then at the very end did. So I think they lucked out.
I'll be honest. I think they strategically, Sham. I think they did it strategically, because the way it ended up working out was, when we think about a 24-hour news cycle, it's like news breaks, we go crazy for a couple hours, and then we're done. With the way this was rolled out, they were able to break news like every 20 minutes over the course
the entire day.
Yeah, over the course of 4 hours. And it allowed for multiple narratives for each actor that was being revealed to have run its course of conversation. So I actually think that this was I think it was very strategic. I think the way they did it, how long it took, the fact it took so much time in between. Like, I don't think that because these accounts just kept posting the casting list as just news tweets. It was just like, Marvel announces Letitia Wright is now in what's name, and just that news, right? And just that news gets all this engagement. Like, if you just say, here's 20 people that are going to be in the movie, like, that moment happens and we go crazy for it, and then we stop. And we don't actually really home in on any of these individual actors. I'm sure these actors.
That's why I say it's almost like an NFL draft, right? Like,
these individual actors, for these individual actors, this was amazing for them. This was amazing for their brands, amazing for, they would not have gotten the shine they did a normal rollout of a cast. Mm-hmm. So I thought that this was ended up being really brilliant on multiple fronts. Yeah.
So I'm gonna end up being the Grinch. I didn't like this reveal from start to finish.
Gosh.
I mean, it was. I mean, look, we got what we got. At the end of the day, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, you go to a restaurant, you don't like the waiter, you don't like the chef, but the meal's hit. It's like, all right, at the end of the day, I got what I needed. But, did it have to be like this? No. I
know Shamari. Shamari's a service guy. Shamari likes good service. So I've been to restaurants. I've been with places.
I don't like bad service. I'll put it that way.
No, you give Shamari bad service.
I'm not someone that's like, taking a dump on the service industry. I know it's a very hard industry to be a part of. So I try to, tip well. Anyone that is in that industry and whatnot, But if if the service is not well, I'm not shy about it. Put it that way.
Can't do it.
But but yeah, no, like I didn't think it was necessary. I thought they could have done, and I'm, I don't know. You can call me plain Jane, whatever. You put Feige on the stage, you have him announce the cast. The cast comes out. I'm clapping. I'm cheering. I'm happy that I'm able to see it either on stream, or maybe I don't see it on stream. Maybe I just see it through a tweet or an article or what have you, and I'm excited for Doomsday. I thought that would have been just fine. but maybe they're saving something else for Comic-Con. Maybe they have something else up their sleeve that they want to do. But either way, it definitely obviously it gives us plenty to talk about.
12 minutes was far too long, right? Even if I agree for the most part,
and it was very I don't know. To me, I know they changed up the music occasionally, but it was very repetitive and kind of boring.
That's it. They could have spiced it up one, right? Like they didn't have to be.
Or maybe show their faces. I don't know. Like if they're gonna make a big thing,
right? Like you could have really made this a big production.
Like have them go and sit down on the chair or something.
Right.
Then I'd be like, oh wow,
or get Drusilla highlight again. Like really make it a big production. Like make it WWE. Like if you're really gonna do it, but
maybe give them the Marvel Studios intro. Like
how
they showed the flash,
right? Give them their own thing.
Like maybe give them their own thing. Like I don't know if they're gonna make this some kind of just showing the chairs.
Yeah, the chair that was really weird. Now again, they were going for that vibe. Like they wanted to be. They really wanted people to be like, what's going on?
Yeah, they wanted the suspense. The suspense was part of it. Yeah,
right. They would have just put announcement. Unless they wanted you, they would have told you what it was right after the jump. But so they obviously wanted to. Make it weird and all that, and like you said, add to the suspense to it. But at 12 minutes, it should have been 5 or 6, right? You could have had the same effect with a 5 to 6 minute gap, and I don't think people would have gotten as upset because people would have been willing to sit there and wait through 5 minutes of every single announcement. 12 minutes is man. 12 to 15
And I feel like another thing that may affect how you react to it is how you feel about the announcements themselves.
And that's where a lot of people will won over.
Yeah, that's going to be another. That's like a whole other.
Right.
That's where a lot of people. Because halfway through it, I was like, man, is Marvel ever going to beat are they ever going to beat the 8 seed playoff Avengers allegations? Are they ever going to beat the lottery team Avengers allegations? Because that's all we heard. We only heard the people that we knew were on the team that weren't really that exciting. Besides Vanessa Kirby early in it, but it was and Thor was I guess an interesting person to start with. But otherwise, it was again, it was Falcon, it was the Thunderbolts, it was
XXL freshman Cypher.
Yeah, 2020. It was the 2020, the 2020s XXL freshman cipher team. This isn't. What happened?
But I think I guess, and maybe this was and I again early on I felt the same way. I think I tweeted that this is one of the reasons why people don't have confidence in Marvel right now because this is a bad idea. I just feel like as things got more interesting, the names they were revealing, it became clear to me that we were going to get some big castings. I guess that's why I was way more forgiving because I was like, oh, this is going to get crazy. And it started with Patrick Stewart and then Ian McKellen. I was like, okay, this is getting very interesting. And this
as it got good, though, that's when it ended. That was the other thing, too. It was oh, man, because Jeff Snyder, midway, early on, put out a tweet that was yeah, there's 50 names, there's some big surprises, lock in. It ended up being 27, which is, and he said, obviously, there's more stuff potentially coming out down the line. But when I'm expecting 50, and he said 45 on Christian Harloff's show, I'm expecting 45 people. I'm okay. And by person 20, we're getting X-Men. I'm oh, this is going to be insane. If we got another 20 people here, I'm going to be here all day. And then they got to Pedro. I was okay, Pedro Pascal. All right. When are we going to get to Hugh Jackman? We're going to get to Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire. And it got Downey sitting in the chair and it was over. I was wait, what? I just got settled in. This was starting to get good. And
so how much of the cast do you think this is? That's because that was another question
it feels like 80%. I think it's probably 80 to 85%. I don't know the exact number if you do the math on that, but I guess it's probably another maybe 5 to 6 major people.
Yeah, I would assume that this is going to be the major players of this story. I think these are non-cameo probably performances. That won't mean that and maybe there are a few guys that are in gals that will have big roles that they haven't revealed yet, right? We see Marvel. They seem to have cracked the code on how to keep really big surprises under wraps, right? We saw that with what they did with Deadpool and Wolverine, with what they were able to do with Channing Tatum, what they were able to do with Wesley Snipes. So they'll have maybe some of those kind of people in here, but I think that the people you saw there will have considerable roles in this film. So I think you could expect a lot of I think you expect a lot of Charles Xavier and Magneto. I think you expect a lot of Gambit. I think these are the X-Men characters that I think will have a big role. I did think it was interesting that there were no female X-Men characters mentioned in this. Um,
Mystique, like
right?
Mystique, I guess, who's like a
who's
brother.
who's not an X-Man. That's why I'm like a team
Not
member.
typically an X-Men.
Yeah. Now, if it's Jennifer Lawrence, I would say that's different. She is technically, I guess, an X-Men, but the Rebecca character is not. She's a pure villain. So I thought that was a little interesting. That like very male dominated. I just think one of the strengths of X-Men is there's both men and female characters that are super super popular.
Grace
But
Randolph really went after Marvel for that.
yeah, that was a strange thing. That seemed it just seemed odd. It just like that was the only thing about that.
I think we were all expecting Halle Berry, Famke Janssen at the very.
I was really expecting to see Halle Berry be one of those people.
Right.
Not to say that
he always willing to come back. It feels like, to play that character.
And that that check is she's gonna make sure that check clears. She's not gonna pass on that bread. So I mean, I was a little surprised by that, but that doesn't mean that we don't get those big reveals. Once the movie comes out, I think that's still a possibility. I just thought for them to announce the actors and it's all male X-Men and then Mystique, I was like, that's just weird. Just because we know the X-Men, there's always prominent female characters in there. How do you guys feel? But like beyond that, though, how do you guys feel about
massive
the
update for the movie?
Yeah, there's a massive update here to have these X-Men characters playing a large role. It appears in this film. With the way this was going, I was actually expecting a title change. And a lot of people were saying this as well on the internet. I thought, is this Avengers versus X-Men? Like, is this the movie that actually we are getting and we've been told that it's Doomsday? Because, I think Doomsday doesn't mean quite as much to people as AVX would. But I really thought that was a possibility. That didn't happen, so I assume that's not going to happen. But were you were you surprised by just how many X-Men characters were announced yesterday?
So this, I feel like this harkens back to the last conversation we had on our show last week, where I was like, we were talking about, I think, the idea of Jean Grey and Sadie Sink and how they may introduce the X-Men and Doomsday and Secret Wars. I was like, I don't want to see the new X-Men in Doomsday. It wouldn't make sense to me because we haven't seen the old X-Men. that didn't make it. And as much, and again, as I said last time, I'm as big of a let's see the new X-Men as fast as possible person as there is. But once they weren't in Deadpool, this was the only logical next step, was they had to be in this movie. Because otherwise that would just be a malpractice to say, yeah, we're closing the book on the Fox X-Men with no Cyclops, no Professor X, no Magneto, no Beast, no any of them. So it seemed like that was the route that they were going. So I'm not shocked that they're in this movie. Again, so many of them. And again, when Alan Cumming showed up, I was shocked, right? Because we haven't seen him literally since X2. The question that I have, there's a lot of questions, but from a story standpoint, I'm 95% sure this is the same X-Men that we're going to get from that Monica Rambeau. That Monica Rambeau is going to be with Beast, right? I would guess, right? If you're giving this Kelsey Grammer again, it's going to look the same.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't get Tiana Paris in that announcement, which
was weird. Yeah.
Right. You would think like she's almost a lot. Like we're just and now again, Marvel's not afraid to throw out a post-credit scene because there's no way half these post-credit scenes are going to be gone. True. So maybe they're just like, yeah, we're just going to see Beast and but I'm assuming it's that same Beast, and that when he was like, "Oh, let me go talk to the professor," that it's gonna be that would have been Patrick Stewart, and that this will be the X-Men of that universe. Now, is that universe the Fox X-Men universe that we've seen? Is it an offshoot? Is it 838 from Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness? A lot of people have had a lot of theories on that. We don't really know yet, but when you use all the same Fox X-Men characters, the problem is if you make it the Fox X-Men universe, like. Again, there's just so much baggage, right? Where was Nightcrawler, like, post X2, and now he's back with the X-Men, like...
Yeah, Professor X is alive. Cyclops is alive. Like, there's...
Yeah, Cyclops is alive. Like, Now they washed away a lot of stuff in Days of Future Past, so I don't know. I don't remember what happened.
Well, yeah,
after that.
See, and then you lose me because I'm like, I don't even want to go down there.
Yeah, I'm like,
now I'm like, I gotta watch an emergency awesome video just to understand what's going on. And it's like,
right,
yeah,
not.
And so, the easiest thing for them to do is to just say it's a completely new universe with actors that you recognize, similar to what they did with Hugh Jackman and Deadpool and Wolverine. But I mean, the fact that they're in it is, I think it's great. And I'm glad. I'm not glad, obviously, about the no Jean Grey, no Storm, no Rogue. I mean, those are three major characters from that trilogy that they definitely could have brought back. But in terms of the cast, some people are like, where are these other missing characters? You don't need the cast to get too bloated in general, right? Because if you've got 80 characters, then you have no characters at that point. Because how do you fit them all into a movie and give them? How am I going to get excited about Ian McKellen being in a movie with 100 people?
Right.
But if this is the cast, like you said, then that means they're going to play a fairly major role, which gets me more excited. So I think that this is cool from what we've heard right now. And it's good. I mean, look, we get one last farewell tour with this X-Men group. And we saw the buzz that even those castings got, like that brand and even that trilogy of movies still has a lot of juice.
Yeah, there's no question, Sham. Like I wonder how you feel. I mean, you've been the big "Where are the X-Men" guy. I just feel like that's been your moniker essentially for the last, I don't know how many years since the Fox deal basically happened. So here you are, Sham. Like this. I mean, this is what you've been waiting for. Like this is the moment. Here are all these X-Men characters that are now going to be in a Marvel movie. So how do you feel now?
Is it the moment?
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
Or is this more Multiverse of Madness?
But see, and that's the question, though, right? That's the main question, right? Because I've been saying for weeks and months at this point, like I want a new X-Men. No disrespect to the old X-Men, but I want to know what is the X-Men that we're gonna get with the Wolverine and all the people that we're gonna get going forward, like after whatever multiversal, whatever going. I want to see who they are. I want to meet them. I want them to interact with this new Avengers team and be in the MCU. Like that's what I want. That's what I'm waiting for. So this is just kind of like, okay, we're gonna play in the sandbox, and they're probably gonna kill off like most, if not everyone. All the X-Men. Doom's just gonna kill all of them. I'm like 80% convinced that's gonna happen. They're gonna whatever the wrestling term is for
do the
putting
job.
him over there. Yeah, they're gonna
job.
They're gonna he's gonna roll over these classic X-Men characters because he's so powerful and strong and whatnot, which is fine, but like not so I don't know. I'm excited to see them. Shout out to Rebecca Romaine. She's been in Star Trek. She's in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. She plays a pretty big role in that show. So she's been acting still in kind of in this similar kind of like nerd space, but she's been doing a really good job. So I know she was a surprise. I'm not actually too.
That's always the question with some of these actors that you haven't seen in a long time. You're like, what have they been doing?
Yeah, what have they been doing? But like, she's been putting in work.
She's been putting in work. I mean, we talked recently about James Marsden's been really.
Yeah, Marsden's another one.
Alan Cumming. I know he's been the host of Traitors, which is a extremely popular reality show that involves a bunch of reality stars and a whodunit kind of game show atmosphere, and it's an extremely popular show on Peacock. So people saw him. I think some people forgot that he was part of any of this, so X-Men, Marvel, or any of that. They just know him as the host of Traitors and some of the other acting work he's done as a classic British actor.
Right. Yeah.
And again, honestly, this is a good thing for you, EJ. I mean, I think honestly the biggest surprise of all the X-Men stuff is not shock, but a bit of a surprise that Gambit got thrown in the mix too.
Yeah,
because he was not in any of them.
And look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a fan of that because he's very much a
caricature,
He was
cartoony.
he was a jokey, trolly. You know, what was it? Ralph Boner. He's not Ralph Boner. The
No, he wasn't Ralph
Tatum
Boner.
Gambit is Ralph Boner.
Wow.
No,
Done.
that's
Completely. He's
that's
Ralph Boner. He's Ralph Boner.
I could not disagree with. Could not disagree. I don't think there's a take from Sham that I've disagreed with more than that.
Nah, he's Ralph Boner, man. I'm not trying to. I'm about to make a name for myself. If he says that one time in this movie, I'm going on this show. I'll be like, EJ, tell me he's not Ralph Boner. Why does he have a punchline like that? Why does he have this corny punchline?
Have you read a Gambit comic book or watched Gambit on the cartoon? Like, this is who Gambit is. Gambit is extremely over the top. Gambit
he's a fun character, but he's
a character. He is a character. You don't think
cool. He's a cool character. That Gambit we saw, I'm just like, I'm looking at this. I'm just like, man, he looks. The second I saw him, I'm like, man, why he look so goofy? They didn't have to make him look goofy. They could have made him look cool. And I'm not saying you got to put him in some weird trench coat like the other dude from Origins or whatever. But like, they could have made it cool, and they didn't.
So look, it's gonna be interesting to see the dynamic. So again, are we supposed to assume that Gambit is from this universe that they're in? Is it from the original Fox? We don't know all those answers, obviously. But is he a part of the X-Men? Right? If he is a part of the X-Men, my guess of what's happening, this is just a guess, is I'm assuming Doom is going to go to their world somehow and maybe wreak havoc, and there would be an X-Men versus Doom fight that happens. I don't know if we're going to get so much Avengers and X-Men interaction, is my guess. And maybe there is later in the movie, I don't know. But yeah, my guess is that's how that would play out. And that's why we're going to get all of these characters, in one sequence, with my guess.
And what I'll say too is what I think is exciting for me is, again, I know some people, again, they were like, well, where's Tom Holland? Where's, Hugh Jackman? I feel like I like the concept that like all the actors that they're going to have in the sandbox will have like a significant role. Like, I don't want like these movies to feel like they're just, Tom Holland movies, or they're just, Hugh Jackman movies. Like, I think these movies should be larger. And I think what I'm excited about was the fact that there is such a large multiverse aspect to this, with the X-Men characters being included, that this was, remember, Secret Wars was to be part 1, part 2. And then it became Kang Dynasty and then Secret Wars. And now it's Doomsday and Secret Wars. But like, I thought because of how massive and how large Secret Wars story was, I thought that was the right way to approach it, was to do a part 1 and part 2, a straight part 1, part 2, unlike what they did with Infinity War. This, to me, gives me hope that this will feel like that, even though it's technically a different movie than Secret Wars, that the multiversal aspect of this film is going to take a large part. This is not going to be Doom just showing up. This is not Infinity War, where just Doom just shows up, smashes the Avengers, and then sets us into like whatever the next world is that then has to get fixed. This, to me, is this world and these issues that are encompass Secret Wars is going to also take large credence in Doomsday, that's what I'm excited about. Because I was questioning whether we're doing this same deja vu. All right, Infinity War, we introduce the villain, he smashes the Avengers, and then the next one, Doom's, that his Endgame, is where we're really dealing with like the repercussions of that. Like, this, to me, is going to have some of that. Of course, he is going to smash the Avengers. He is going to smash probably these X-Men. But I think, but my thing was, I thought maybe there was going to be no multiverse. I didn't think maybe we'd see any X-Men or anything. I thought it might just be him showing up in the 616, and that movie containing only in the 616, and then maybe a post-credit scene shows like, Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, or something like that. And like, to me, this confirmed that that's not going to be the case, which means that they're going super big. And I like that swing, because I know maybe someone will say, well, maybe they need to be more contained. F that, in my opinion. Marvel, I think, is in a situation they have to be as ambitious as possible. I'd rather them swing for the fences and strike out than do what they've been doing, which I feel like has been trying to play, a station-to-station baseball game, where they're just trying to hit singles and singles and singles, and it's not moving the needle enough. Like, just go for a freaking grand slam. I think this casting list shows that they're on that path.
Mm-hmm. there's a lot of questions again about this movie. I mean, again, like you said, there's so many omissions. There's basic omissions like again Doctor Strange, right? Like Doctor Strange, we no Cumberbatch said he wasn't in it, and then he said he was, but now he's not on this cast list. So like, is he not in it? Were you telling us the truth the whole time? And maybe that was a spoiler, and now I don't know what to believe anymore. So there's the question is, are the characters that are not listed, are they not listed because they're not gonna be in the promotional stuff. They're not in trailers. Are they a bit of a spoiler when they show up? Like, there's absolutely no reason why Tom Holland wouldn't be a major factor in this world.
Right.
Based off what we've seen, he's an Avenger.
From No Way Home,
like, I know he's gone. I know he's like everybody doesn't know who Spider-Man is, but they know of Spider-Man. We would think.
And what happened to all those Spider-Man that were in that rift in the sky? Like, what's going on?
Right. And so I don't know. Again, Doctor Strange, another one. Like, I know he's been off with Charlize Theron in doing something based off the post-credit scene, but like he's just not around. And Hulk, I've got a lot of questions about where Hulk is based off of Brave New World, because he was just MIA. But where's Hulk and his kid? Like, they not around. Like, there's a lot of questions about a lot of different characters that could be involved in this technically that didn't really get mentioned. But at the same time, again, it's a bloated movie, and maybe some of these characters do show up later in it. My guess is that a lot of characters that didn't get mentioned, especially the bigger ones that we're talking about, the Chris Evans, Tom Holland, Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire, or Garfield, whoever. I'm guessing a lot of those will make up the main primary cast of Secret Wars. I think in that sense, I think it will be kind of similar to Endgame, where I think they want to try and kind of split, the cast, so to speak. Because they also have a cast. They got cast space, man. They can only do with somebody. They have a budget where they can only cast major people. Yeah. Downey's getting 50% of it, and the Russo's getting another 25%. I mean, this is going to be the biggest budget for a film, maybe ever, just based off the cast list. Yeah, so yeah, I'm fascinated. What did you guys make of Pedro being listed right next to Downey? And beyond Pedro, do you think that there was any significance to the order of these chairs? Because it seems very random, but in some sense, it didn't seem random. I mean, we know Downey.
I mean, the X-Men part was definitely not random. And I don't think that was an accident. I think there have been some concerns about what is the relationship of Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four, because the Fantastic Four movie famously won't have Doctor Doom in it. They picked Robert Downey Jr. as the Doomsday character, Doctor Doom character, when that suggests a link to Iron Man, not the Fantastic Four, or even Spider-Man, not the Fantastic Four. So, like, I think there was a lot of concern being like, is Marvel lost the plot of like who Doctor Doom is supposed to be? Like, yes, Doctor Doom is a great Marvel villain who could be a villain for anyone, but to not have the blood rivalry that is between him and Reed Richards and him and the larger Fantastic Four, not have that be a focal point, is just, it feels like Marvel at their worst when they look at the canon and say, we need to change this purely because we don't want to do what the canon did. We want to do our own thing, right? Like, that's, I think, what bothers people a lot of times with Marvel. Is one of their greatest weaknesses in this era of Marvel movies. Doing that tells me they're winking to the crowd, being like, come on, guys, you really think that Doctor Doom and Reed Richards, when we have two A-list actors playing these people aren't going to be squaring up, and that this isn't going to be the rivalry that pushes us forward? I mean, to me, that was probably, even more than the X-Men thing, that was almost the biggest relief I saw from this. Was like, okay, Reed and Doctor Doom is happening, and that is super important, because that is, besides Professor X and Charles, I could argue that is the most important rivalry in all of Marvel universe. DC has their own. Of course, you got Joker, Batman, Lex Luthor, or Superman. Like, I think if you're talking about go on the other side, what are the Marvel rivalries? Again, Charles and Eric are number 1 and 2. One, but I think number 2, I don't think it's close. I think it has to be Doom and Reed. So That I thought was a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good sign as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of Pedro Pascal. I think his name in general is going to bring a lot of eyeballs, bring a lot of fans to this Avengers movie. Even fans that maybe are no longer fans of the MCU. But I think they're going to be like, listen, Pedro Pascal is a great actor. I like a lot of the things he's been in. He has a very, very large fan base, and he seems like a great guy from everything I've heard from him, even outside of acting and whatnot. So I think he's going to bring a lot of people. I think Doom's relationship to Reed is important. I agree with you, EJ. I think it's something that they should emphasize, and it's probably honestly, I have many concerns with the Fantastic Four movie, but that's one of them. Is okay, Fantastic Four with no Doom. You can do it, but is it as good? Is the main question. So that's something that I think, I guess, just remains to be seen. We'll see. We'll see what role Robert Downey has, if he has any role in that movie. But I am good. I am glad to see that they're. It seems like they're pointing towards them having some kind of link or relationship.
Yeah, that's the biggest question about that Fantastic Four movie right now is not necessarily like you said. I mean, we don't expect much of. I'd be shocked if Robert Downey Jr. was on the post-credit scene of that movie. But
I feel like he has to be in somewhere.
Yeah, but I'd also be shocked if he's in anything beyond the last scene of the movie or post-credit scene. So it's one of those where he'll be in it, I would assume, but it'll be a fraction of the role that you would expect typically Doctor Doom to have. And so at that point, the question then will just lie: where is this Doctor Doom from? Is he from the world that they're in? Is he from a separate world? And most people, I think, assume that he may be from the same world, and maybe something involving Galactus and the multiverse coming apart would be a major aspect of his beef with the Fantastic Four, or it could have a longer standing issue with the Fantastic Four. This is just part of it, or he could just be from another world, But those are the questions that people have,
and they can also use that movie as to kind of help explain why, where he's coming from.
They have to.
Yeah. Where is this? He's just going to show up in this Avengers movie? They could use this Fantastic Four movie,
right,
to kind of help bridge that gap.
I mean, Thanos was mentioned several times before we saw him in Infinity War. He's in Guardians. He's in Avengers 1. He's in so many movies where we reference Thanos that by the time you get to Infinity War, all right, we know who this guy is, and this is trouble for the heroes. They got to get there with Doom, and I think they will. They have time. You have Thunderbolts even. You got Thunderbolts. You have Thunderbolts. You have Fantastic Four. You'll have time to get there. Is they're gonna have to do that. But I have no doubt that.
I thought we were
but I think
and all we got. I'm not gonna spoil it, but we got the lame post credit scene we got in that.
Which I mean, to be fair, did reference the multiverse. I mean, I'm not saying and that something bad was coming in the multiverse. I'm not here to defend that movie. I'm not here to defend that post credit scene. I agree, it definitely was very similar to that Lex Luthor or Jesse Eisenberg with Batman scene in BVS, but it definitely did tease Doom, no question. You didn't see him, and it was extremely vague, and it didn't really serve that movie well at all, but it did. So I think that we're getting there, and I think I think this is one of those things where I would say be patient, but I don't think we need patience. I feel like there's gonna be a massive drop also at Comic-Con. I don't think we'll get a trailer or anything, though. I mean, we got time. Maybe trailer's possible actually.
I think it's very
March to July. A teaser is possible.
Because Fantastic Four will just come out at that point.
Yeah, I do think maybe plot synopsis or more castings are definitely that's going to happen. I think that's not even a conversation. That will be, I think, at Comic-Con. That will be the big thing we see from Marvel coming up.
The other major thing that we got, not major, it would depend on who you ask, but the other interesting thing I think from this list that, like Shawari mentioned, was a bit of a surprise, Like we talked about how there was representation from the Wakandans on this list.
Mm-hmm.
We got Shuri, Letitia Wright showed up pretty early on there. We got Winston Duke. I was surprised. I actually didn't see Winston Duke. I saw people talking about him. I was like, I didn't even see his chair. But
I think it was pretty early on too.
yeah,
yeah. He was like maybe a little before midway through, but yeah.
Yeah, that would have been another one. I would have been like, here we go. Yeah, but
What's wrong? What's wrong with M'Baku?
oh, Mbaku's fine. Mbaku's great, but again, I mean,
Not the X-Men.
yeah, I'm like Avengers Doomsday, and you're telling me I just sat here 12 minutes waiting for this to see who the next chair is, and I see Winston Duke. I'm just not gonna get excited. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want me to say. I was hoping, I don't know, somebody we don't. That was the thing that was interesting too. Not to get off tangent for it real quick, but there was no new actors. Like I was hoping we get like somebody that we don't know who they're playing. That would be
Yeah.
great. Which is probably strategic. They don't have time for that probably to explain that. But we got those two, and then we also got Tenoch Huerta as Namor. So I mean, again, we weren't sure. We assumed that they would have to play some sort of role in this. But then we also had a report today from Jack Snyder on his podcast with John Roca, where he said that apparently that there was an offer that was sent out to an actor to play T'Challa Jr. in either this movie or in Secret Wars, some combination possibly. And the only thing he said was that the actor is currently playing a superhero. So, I mean, there aren't many black actors right now playing superhero. I mentioned to our parents, I was like, got the homie A-Train from The Boys, Jesse T. Usher, but there's not many. So it leads people to believe, we do process of elimination, that is it Aaron Pierre, who just got cast, obviously, as Green Lantern. Right. There was a report a month or two ago from My Time to Shine Hello where they said that Pierre was one of the finalists.
There was a report, yes.
Him, Kelvin Harrison, I believe as well, a couple other actors, and people got very upset, as you can imagine. Yes, right? Kelvin Harrison, Aaron Pierre definitely don't look like they could play T'Challa or they could play any sort of Black Panther, any sort of Wakandan. So that was a very explosive,
very true, very controversial
report. I didn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way. This is you're trying to get engagement, and trying to get rage bait, all that." And then we got this report from Snyder, who again, not trying to rage bait. He's not putting it out there for no reason.
Yeah, no, he's not a rage bait.
And again, he didn't say it was Aaron Pierre, but if you're trying to connect the dots, we already had a report that he may have been involved, and then this thing gets put out there. Connect the dots is probably him. I would just warn Marvel. I would hope that they wouldn't go in that direction for a lot of different reasons, but I just think that they're going to get a lot of flack. And I would also, if I was Aaron Pierre's people, I don't know if you want to take this job, man. I'm just being honest with you. Like John Stewart,
he's gonna see them M's from Marvel, and he's
it's gonna be hard to turn it down. But I mean, you know me. I mean, when it came to the Green Lantern stuff, I had no issue with him playing John Stewart. I could see the controversy. I could see the potential issues that people had. I don't want to dismiss it, but I thought that's a lot different in my mind than him playing a character. I mean, we've already seen the kid, first of all. I mean, if he's playing that same character, he doesn't even look like the kid that played him. So, not to go on a tangent, but that's also out there as well. So, I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I mean, go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've spoken on the Black Panther issue many times, so everyone that's watching this probably knows how I feel about the T'Challa situation, and that they should be using this opportunity, and they may still be doing that. I don't know. We don't know what their plans are, but they should be using this opportunity to try to bring the original T'Challa back, because I think that's how they should be progressing the story. But if they are casting this younger T'Challa, and I have to look at the I mean, honestly, obviously, in terms of kind of facing this issue head on, it needs to be basically like another colorism situation.
Yeah, that's the impending conversation that's going to happen.
Where it's like, why is he playing this character who, and again, maybe I gotta take a look at the kid again. I don't know, the kid that played him in the in the whatever it was, the post credits. Maybe I gotta take another look at that kid. How dark was he or whatever? Like I don't, but like
and we've seen movies like that before, right?
we've
seen where it's like this the child actor, this guy looks nothing like the child actor.
He doesn't look anything but like
but this is extreme
suspension
man.
of disbelief,
even beyond like who the kid was. Like
I'm looking at the kid right now. There's no way this kid could be Aaron Pierre.
Even from my memory, like no way, no way. So it's definitely like a colorism. Yeah, it's definitely a colorism issue, and Hollywood has had an issue with that. Disney has had an issue with that. It is a very real issue that deserves a very nuanced and kind of longer conversation, for probably much longer than we can afford to do on this show. But it is. It's real. It's a real issue, and I agree. Yeah. I would probably agree with you, Kendall, that I think if I were to advise, Aaron Pierre, who honestly I'd say I'm a fan. I've watched several of his stuff at this point. We enjoyed him in Krypton, which I think was the first thing that I saw him.
Which again, you look at all the Zods in Krypton.
Yeah,
and I was like, Aaron Pierre could be a Zod in this universe. Yeah. They all look the same. Like they're all the same, similar complexion, same facial features. Like they all looked related, but when you then cast somebody to play a kid, and he looks nothing like anybody else that's been in his family. He looks nothing like the young version of the actor, the character he's supposed to be playing. It's like, it might be a great actor.
And there's other people. I mean, they didn't show but just the other characters. It was a very dark skinned cast. Like the Black Panther cast was a dark skinned cast. You
represent Africans, right? So it doesn't mean that there aren't lighter skinned Africans, of course. Right. It doesn't mean that there aren't lighter skinned Africans, but the ones they represented, they weren't. They were few of them. There were some. There were some in Dora Milaje. Like there were some. I just watched Black Panther recently, but it was not the majority, as it should not be. If you're watching any African content, right? So my feelings on the Black Panther situation have been the same, right? So I'm someone who wants to see how they would do the story. I'm not someone who's gonna just write something off before I see what's happening. I think the colorism thing is a problem. Like I wouldn't tell Aaron Pierre not to do it, because I'm not going to tell somebody how to eat, as I always say. I mean, they offer you M's to play a transcendent, important character. Who am I to tell you don't deserve that, or you shouldn't take it?
Sure.
Especially if he thinks he can do a great job, which I'm sure he does. I don't think that Marvel should cast him. I think that this shows, for those who are frustrated with Marvel and feels like a lack of sensitivity to these kind of things, it emboldens those views, because it looks like you feel like you could insert any Black person into this role and you would get the same thing, right? It suggests that you're not really thinking largely about some of these larger issues. So he's a great actor. Could he play a T'Challa if you did everything totally different in a weird, different way, where if Lupita Nyong'o was lighter skinned, if Chadwick Boseman was lighter skinned, and then I guess he's a great actor. He could absolutely play a young T'Challa. He should be playing this T'Challa. We've seen the kid, we've seen his parents. It doesn't quite add up. It just doesn't make sense. And I think there also is the conversation about if you're casting a Black Panther character, putting someone of lighter skin in that position, there's a long history of what colorism is in Hollywood and how it's impacted Black actors, Black culture in general, and how detrimental it is. So I would suggest them not to do it, to be extremely clear. I'm also going to say I still want to see the story again. I'm not going to crap on the story before I even see it. I think in terms of doing a young T'Challa, I've been saying I don't have a problem with it. I don't have an issue. And again, if it's not good, then I'll say, hey, this wasn't good. They screwed this up. They should have done it a different way. I'm not someone who's against recasting T'Challa at this point. My issue was recasting T'Challa so early on and doing a new movie as if Chadwick Boseman didn't die. I thought that would have been a mistake. But that's old news at this point. I feel like, to me, with this, it's I'm fine with doing young T'Challa. That makes sense with what the story you created. But don't cause other issues by doing this stuff. That's the issue I have. Is like you're creating a problem that really does not have to exist at all.
There's other actors. There's other talented.
I mean, look,
black,
Aldous Hodge,
dark-skinned actors. That
I mean, it makes me wonder. Yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder. Like, was there a cast? Was there a? We heard about these various candidates. Was there a casting call that included auditions? Or was he so much better than these guys? That's why they wanted him so bad. Or like, and I don't. And to be clear, I don't think that's an excuse. That's not an excuse in my opinion. But I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out the rationale. So I'm like, if there's a casting call, okay, maybe you feel like he was better. Okay, I think if he's better, then you got to find other black guys.
We know Dan Idris would be perfect.
Yes.
Aldous Hodge.
Yeah, or if it's worse, it's worse if you just didn't do a casting call. You're just like, we want Aaron Paul, so Aaron, what's the name? So we're going with Aaron. Like, I think that would be worse, you know. So it's Aaron Pierre. Sorry, it's Aaron Paul. That's the guy from Breaking Bad. No, I mean, like, I think that there is it's problematic on both ends. So yeah, but like, yeah, go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say I also want to, because I do agree with you, EJ. I do feel bad. I don't want to take opportunities away from Aaron Pierre if he feels like someone offered him and he, he's very talented. I think I like I said, I like most of really everything that I've seen him in. Yeah. And I'm excited to see him in Lanterns, even though I think there's a similar issue with that. But I am excited to see him. But it's just this role. I mean, it's just one of those things where Disney, Marvel, they need people. I don't know what it is. Again, I feel like Lucasfilm, and I've told Kendall several times, but has a similar issue where there's just not. I think it's a Disney issue. There doesn't seem to be people in these rooms, like black people. I'm just gonna be honest. I feel like there's not black people, at least dark skinned black people, in these rooms to be like, hey, you need to pay attention to this. This character is more important than, and this, you selecting these people, it's meaningful. It matters. It matters. How they look. It matters.
Would be real sham. You could have black people in the room, but if they're yes men or they're sycophants, and they're just gonna say that's not helpful. And I say that yeah, right. I don't know, but right, for sure. But I think that's something that will happen though, is that people say, well, I'm a black person in the room. It's like, well, if you're not advocating for black issues or black things, then you're not useful. It doesn't matter that you're a black person in the room. And I think that we say that about a lot of issues just in the world, not just Hollywood. But I just want to say real quick, I also, if that is the case too, I mean, this is and I don't want to, with all due respect to him, because I don't know if he signed off on this, but I mean, Ryan Coogler has to. He's in the room. He absolutely is in the room. He's the director. He's the one doing the movies.
Yeah, I mean,
so to me now, my thing is if they may tell him, look, this is what we're doing, and you just do your movie, and again, I'm not gonna sit here and say Ryan Coogler don't do a Black Panther movie to stand on business. If he did, that's amazing and great for him. If he wants to be on the principles, but I think those are principles I can't just impose on other people. But if it's a situation where he's co-signing this or he's spearheading this, then that becomes an issue you got to put at his feet too. You can't just all put it on Disney. You got to say, well,
it would. I don't know what role. I don't know what role he's playing.
Right? Is this a Russo's casting?
Yeah. Is this a? Because he's been extremely. That's why it's so surprising. He's been extremely intentional with wanting to present the blackness of this franchise,
right,
in a extremely thoughtful, respectful way. And I know, again, I feel like sometimes the child side people, I think that they're way over the top with the criticisms of Ryan and just how much he cares about that aspect of it. I think because they don't agree, but at the same time, he is very thoughtful in how he thinks about this stuff. Just ask him. He's not. He talks about it all the time. So that would be the disconnect for me, which be this would be an issue. He's not dumb. So why is this happening? That would be the thing that I'd have trouble with trying to figure this whole thing out.
The one thing I'll say is that this is a thought that I came to a couple weeks ago, and it's not something that I've thought super hard about, until like a couple weeks ago because it was more word about. I think the Russos may have come out with a quote that was like something along the lines of Avengers. Doomsday and Secret Wars is they were like Endgame was the ending of a story and Secret Wars is going to be the beginning of one. And Feige has kind of had similar language as well, and it's led people to kind of speculate on what this Marvel reboot's going to look like. And as I started to think about it, and we kind of talked about the reboot, at times, as we've kind of expected it was going to come at some point. The more I thought about it, I was like, Marvel should just reboot the entire thing. They should just reboot the entire universe, and none of this would be an issue. None of the Black Panther stuff would be an issue, obviously. But anything else, any other issues that they have right now with their universe would be wiped away.
Do you not think that's still? Do you not think that's still not on the table?
So when
I hope it's on the table.
So
I think
when you say reboot the universe, what is that? What happens to say Daredevil or like?
In my mind, you can keep plenty of actors, right?
So you just keep certain things the same.
The story is the exact. The story is completely from scratch. I mean, you can assume certain things may have happened a certain way. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. That's up to the people who decide and the audience. But like you're not going to recast Anthony Mackie as whether he's Falcon or you're not going to recast him as Sam Wilson. You're not going to recast Charlie Cox or some of these people, but it allows you so much more freedom to do whatever you want with some of these stories and some of these actors, and I think it solves every issue they have. And the one question a lot of people will have is, well, what about the good stuff? Or when do you lose some of the stuff? I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that will say, oh, well, what about Endgame and Infinity War? And I were wiping everything away and nothing else mattered. My thing is, those movies came out a while ago, man. Like, they're not going anywhere. You can still watch them in the same way that you can watch The Dark Knight while also watching Batman, and also watching James Gunn's universe. Like, it's a different universe. But to me, also, like, if you're talking about the present day Marvel landscape, they don't have anything that I'm not afraid to wipe away. And we'll talk about Daredevil here in a minute. Yeah. That includes Daredevil, right? And I'm not here to say that Daredevil is bad or anything. We're gonna have that conversation. I think it's very good, but they don't have anything right now that I'm not afraid that they never had. So, that would be mine.
And here's the thing. Yeah, I'll just say. I mean, I don't think that that's not on the table at all.
I think it's
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I think that's. I don't want to say I go far as to say it's likely, but I think it's definitely possible that we're going to see a massive reboot that includes keeping. You just have no choice. You're introducing the X-Men. It's not going to be a 90-year-old Patrick Stewart, with all due respect, 80-something-year-old Patrick Stewart.
I don't think we're going to get the CW. I guess is my point. I don't think we're going to get what the CW did, where it was just like a merging all the universes together and kind of just like, no, it's all one world.
Was that what you think, or that what you want? I'm saying, like, that's what I think.
That's what I don't think should happen, and I think it's possible, and that's what I'm saying. I would definitely avoid, and what I don't think that they will do, but they very well could. I think there's a lot of people who probably think that that's some version of what we're gonna get, but in my mind, it would just be a completely hard reboot with similar faces, but because now X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and it makes perfect sense because some people even say, "Look, we just introduced the Fantastic Four." Well, they're in this Jetsons universe that apparently is going to get we would assume is going to get destroyed, and they're going to wind up in this Doomsday world anyway. Like, none of it mattered. Nothing that we saw. It kind of makes sense given that we've had this kind of weird lead up into Doomsday where we've had almost nothing. Nothing. I don't think anything matters before Doomsday and Secret Wars, and then you just hit the reset button at that point. And then you can introduce your new X-Men. You can keep the Fantastic Four actors, but put them in a different environment. Like, I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think that is definitely on the table. I think that I think there's got to be some thought behind it. Like, I don't think you could just be extreme with again just being like, oh, like Charlie Cox is no longer Daredevil. He's we're getting a different Daredevil. Like I think that there's some
Most
things
of
that
the
just
actors, yeah, they would all be the same for the most part.
yeah, like I don't
You
think you
know,
should be recasting like Captain Marvel. Like I think or Miss Marvel. Like
Miss Marvel, no, I mean Captain Marvel, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation, but
yeah,
that'll be at the discretion of the actors. I would also personally, I think I told our brother Henry, I was like, I would hope that all these actors have like expiring contracts. Like, I would hope Marvel didn't give any of these actors, movie deals past.
Right.
like they
I know
all
the
had deals that came up to Secret Wars.
yeah, I know the Russos said that Marvel gave them like these trading cards essentially that had like
Yeah,
all the contract details of every single
of each
actor.
person. Yeah,
So I mean, again, I don't know what that'll entail to, but yeah, a lot of the OG Avengers are the main ones that you could recast. Thor, Hulk, Captain America, potentially Iron Man, definitely. Like those guys, Black Widow, they can be recasted, but Hawkeye. But yeah, I mean, any of the characters you introduced fairly recently, it wouldn't make sense business wise.
yeah.
But
I
yeah, but
mean,
and
yeah,
now they're using too much a new story, and we may not know where the story starts. Like it's just gonna be there, and at that point we have to figure it out as it goes along. But I've become pretty convinced that that's the route that they should go. They may not. I hope they do, but it would solve I think a lot of their issues.
I get you, man. I get you. Let's talk about these Daredevil episodes. So Daredevil debuted 2 episodes this week. So guys, if you've not watched Daredevil episode 5 and 6, this will be spoiler territory for you. So if you did not, I would say thanks for listening to New Generation Hero Talk. Come back next week. We'll have more talk. But if you are okay with spoilers or you have seen it, then sit back and relax because we got some really, I thought, interesting episodes this week. I feel like this was, in my opinion, Daredevil hitting the higher gears here, right? Like I think maybe some concern about maybe where we were through 4 episodes, that it maybe was a little slow. And that some of those issues we heard about the show when it originally was shot, and which led to all these reshoots that we're now knowing maybe were not as expensive as expected. We're now seeing why they needed those reshoots because there was too much legalese type legal drama stuff and not enough Daredevil action stuff. Now I think that we didn't get to talk about episode 4 last week, but I actually thought episodes 3 and 4 were also really good. I really enjoyed episode 4. And I really enjoyed episode 3. But episode 5 and 6 here, whether you had a filler episode that was, I've seen people say, and I agree, one of the better filler episodes of any show I think I've ever seen. The bank heist episode, where Mac is caught with Kamala Khan's dad, Yusuf, as he's trying to get money for the law firm, and a bank robbery ensues, and it's basically Matt Murdock operating as Matt Murdock, but also as plainclothes Daredevil, trying to orchestrate how to safely get everyone through this bank robbery on St. Patrick's Day. And the action sequences, the drama, like Charlie's acting in this episode, I think is absolutely top tier. I loved his relationship with Yusuf in episode 2. I think they played off each other really well. I thought really fun episode. Like I was enjoying this very filler episode of Daredevil. Then we get to the second episode. I think it was a lot more substantial in terms of storyline, right? So you're starting to see literally Kingpin kind of coming apart at the seams, literally, right? Like he's having trouble kind of continuing to maneuver like what it means to be mayor, and also have this him being Kingpin, this dark past, this impulse control, and trying to control that while also getting stuff done that he wants to do for the city. You have Matt, who's kind of pressed with like being shown like, are you really doing enough, as Muse, who comes in front and center in this episode as the main villain, like this episode, like is been revealed as a serial killer and the person likely behind the death of White Tiger, and not really doing much other than saying go to the police in order to figure these things out, and that having to deal with like what Foggy's death means to him, and that being the impetus for him not putting back the costume, and him having to make that decision of whether it was time to come back, which he of course does. This again was, I mean, the last fight scene with that coincided with, and it just shows you just how different Matt and Fisk are, right? Like, Fisk's moment of what I guess adversity he faces, where he goes to um, a fundraiser dinner that goes extremely poorly. Uh, his way of facing adversity was beating the crap out of the guy that he's now held captive in his home because of the affair the guy had with his wife Vanessa. That's his way of facing adversity, was to go and just fight some random dude and beat him up and keep him captive. And Matt's way of facing adversity was to think about the grief he went through, but understand that there's a bigger cause at play. And in his words, F it. And he puts on the costume and takes down Muse. And the fight scenes are brilliantly shot. The music playing, the dichotomy they have of showing both of them at the same time. It was beautiful stuff. I thought these were awesome episodes of Daredevil, Born Again, and I'm thinking, okay, we're back. We're officially back here with Daredevil Born Again, in my opinion. Sham, what do you think of these two episodes?
I thought they were very good. I was also, I wouldn't say I was worried, but I was definitely picked up on the fact that the season was going slowly. In terms of getting to whatever the main conflict of the series of the season is going to be. I think the other seasons, I think season 3 took its time as well, but it built itself up very, very well.
Yeah.
It was still very awesome how they did it. And in this season, like I'd say the first 4 episodes, like you're kind of just not sure. Fisk is mayor. There's a lot of kind of goofy stuff going on with that. It's fun to see, but you're kind of just like, I don't know where this is going. And then with Matt, he's grieving, and you're kind of, it's like the grieving kind of took the place of Foggy complaining. It's like first it's like, oh, Foggy's complaining about Matt all the time. Why are you putting the suit on? Don't put on the suit. And now it's like he's grieving Foggy's death, and he won't put on the suit. And it's like, okay, well, I want to see Daredevil. But now it seems like we're getting to a point where it's like he's, as you said, he said F it, and he's like, okay, we're getting Daredevil, and it was fantastic. The season episode 5 was fantastic, especially. And I thought the bank heist, or episode 6 actually, especially was fantastic. I thought it was awesome, showing Fitz kind of like you said reaching a breaking point with all these, uh, I guess lobbyists and these other types of people that have
Donors.
these donors essentially that have so much power over who runs the city, and not really knowing how to deal with that, and not knowing how to deal with.
How about Swordsman being one of them, and really giving I think one of the better, probably one of the better callbacks, I feel like, to another Disney Plus show that we've seen on a Disney Plus show so far. The Swordsman we saw throughout the Hawkeye series was kind of shown as the red herring, as someone who we kept thinking was connected to Fisk, and we turned out realized it was Kate's mom who was the one that was connected to Fisk, not Swordsman. We see that he's also kind of becoming a vigilante too, so that's also interesting. We saw that in a little bit of like a BB report footage we saw in the episode, but then him kind of like calling back to like all that beef that was started with him learning about what happened with Kate's mom, and knowing where all that money was going, and him kind of like putting his foot down against Fisk in a way to be like, you don't run the city, bro. Like, we rich people do. Which is a very interesting way. I've never seen billionaires and millionaires become like the baby faces when it comes to like political dramas. But that's kind of what we saw with that scene, particularly, and a lot of these scenes that we saw. And considering dealing with Wilson Fisk, I think that no one's a heel against him. So that was, but it was really gripping. Those are really good scenes.
Yeah, and it's really, and things are also heating up a lot in terms of Fisk and his new task force too. I think that's a really good.
Oh yeah,
I'm very, very curious to see where that goes and how Daredevil kind of deals with that. That should be fun to see.
I was a little alarmed. I was like, it's like Joker. I was like, I don't think anybody getting any ideas.
I mean, I tweeted that Mayor Fisk and Mayor Eric Adams are same here.
Oh man, but yeah, no, I thought these episodes were great, and I thought the bank heist episode. Well, I guess you could call it a filler. I also thought it was just really good. It was just a really good episode. I thought it was really cool seeing Kamala's dad again. Shout out to Miss Marvel, man. I think that's becoming one of my more favorite Disney Plus shows. Honestly, when I look at
if you want to talk moving the story forward, I mean, there's some Champions teases in there with what he's talking about, right? She's going to visit friends out in California. We know last time we saw her, she was visiting Kate Bishop in the Marvels. Like, so they're laying tea leaves there. Again, this is the best Disney Plus show in my opinion that they've done so far. In my opinion, Kendall, I don't know how you feel. Loki is really close and up there, but and I did like Hawkeye. I know that's very controversial. That was probably my second one, but this I think is reaching a level that is starting to be like okay, and I like Echo too, but I feel like this is reaching some pretty cool levels at this point.
It's been very good. I mean, look, it's Disney Plus, right? So I can't make that determination until the finale, basically, because WandaVision would have been number one. Had it stuck the landing, it just didn't, right? And so didn't even get a mention. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier that was great.
To Doctor Strange and Agatha.
Yeah, exactly. Now, to be fair, you guys got to finish Agatha all along. That being the conversation.
Yeah,
well.
That's true.
Okay, all right. No. I was like, I didn't hear that. But okay.
No, it definitely would not.
Damn.
Enjoyable, but definitely would not. But
I also enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I really like Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that's another one that finale didn't really work as much as people had hoped, and it was fine. But
I didn't know that.
But yeah, no, I mean,
I guess.
You saw it. I mean, I guess you liked it. But,
whatchamacallit, the broker or whatever.
Yeah, the power broker.
Yeah, that stuff didn't really land. That stuff didn't land.
The flag matches are all right.
I mean, I talk about things. I was rewatching Falcon and Winter Soldier 2 recently. Not the whole thing. But I think I'm through like 2 episodes, or maybe more than that. I'm like, I was in Madripoor, so we were never getting whatever happened with what's the name, with Carter. That's just not.
I'm telling you, not to relitigate Brave New World.
Yeah, I know you were saying like, what is going on?
Just make that the leader. Just say the leader was controlling her,
Sharon
or
Carter.
the leader was telling Sharon Carter what to do. That would have been so easy. It would have been a cool thing of a little random, and it took 5 years to get this answer, but at least we got it. But they didn't even do that. I'm like, this movie's useless.
I remember when they announced the leader, we were kind of confused. Like, the leader? I didn't know that was where they were going.
Yeah, even that was
after Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, on Daredevil, I mean, look, I think it's been really good. I think, look, D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox are great. A lot of the new characters we've introduced have been really good as well. Look, I see it's been a little bit mixed from what I can tell online, but I think the problem is it's not going to beat the allegations that it's Law and Order SVU, or Franklin and Bash, or Perry Mason, or name your favorite legal procedural show. It's in the same family of those shows, and that's
Law and Order Criminal Intent.
Right, exactly. Might as well call it Law and Order Daredevil. But no, it's good. And if you don't
here's what I'll say though about that real quick though. I feel like those allegations are unfair because I'm also rewatching the first Daredevil. I'm in season 1. Like, there's a lot of legal drama stuff in that show. Like this idea that it was breakneck, just Daredevil jumping off rooftops for 45 minutes. It's just cap. I'm sorry, it's cap. I'm watching these episodes. I'm watching him, watching him represent the guy who killed the guy with the bowling ball. Like,
Yeah.
It's
That was
that
crazy.
these are just legal episodes, right? Crazy episode, crazy situation. But that's not. Oh, this is like it's just people like nostalgia. I think makes people say things
No,
that
but
just aren't true sometimes.
the difference that I will that again to be fair to that show compared to this is that Daredevil's just not showing up in the show, and that's a massive difference. That even at least in season 1, like he's in almost every episode as Daredevil at some point.
Yeah, he's
I mean he's in the black suit. It's different, and he's still doing stuff. Like he's not just he's not just in courtrooms all day in the show. He's still doing stuff. They're still actually still using his powers constantly, so it's still cool, right? I'm not saying it is literally Law and Order, but if you're somebody that's just like, "Yo, where's the suit?" I wouldn't have an answer. I'd be like, "Look, I mean, yeah, he's not really wearing." I was shocked when he put it on, to fight Muse. I was like, "He's really putting on the suit. We're really doing this." But I don't think, and I don't. There have been some people speculating, and it does seem like maybe they didn't add that much besides that opening sequence with Bullseye.
And they obviously reshot all the scenes with Vanessa because they
had to add Vanessa as well at some point, but it doesn't seem like it seems like a lot of this is probably what the show was already going to be, and we don't know. Again, maybe they made it sound like it was a disaster, and I'm watching this. This definitely isn't a disaster. So maybe
this is really good.
And so that would maybe either indicate that maybe their antennas were a little off, or maybe their antennas were right, and they just were like, "Look, it's good, but we got to make it better," or that they did add stuff, and maybe you can't tell because it's not so obvious. But yeah, I think that this has been fine for the most part, right? Again, you're not gonna if you have a massive problem with how it was laid out. I mean, look, I was somebody that when we got those reports that it was going to be a little bit more legal showish, I was not panicking personally because again, I mean, look, me and Smart watch FBI every week. Like that's not that's not a show that
you're the right demographic for that.
Right, it's a procedural show. They're all the same. Like Dick Wolf has his he's got his model, he's got his playbook, his blueprint, and it does the same thing every week. Like there's millions of people that watch those kind of shows and enjoy it. So it's not. I didn't think that was the end of the world. It's just not Daredevil. It's not the Daredevil that we got. Is there a way you can do a Daredevil show and do it like that and make it good? Absolutely. And I think this show is getting close to that. Again, it's not totally Law and Order. If you're somebody that likes the original Daredevil, I think you can still like this show. But I do think it's been MCU-ified a little bit. I mean, again, even that filler episode you guys mentioned, that would have never happened in Netflix. Never. I think really good episode, but way too off the beaten path of anything they would have done on Netflix.
Right, but at the same time though, that episode is not a procedural episode. That's
not
Daredevil,
procedural at all.
He's just not wearing a costume.
But it's procedural similar to like those shows though, right? Like an FBI or a Law and Order. I mean, I don't watch Law and Order as much, but like a show where it's like every week there's a new random drama. So it's that same kind of premise. It's like something random happens with our cast of characters, and they don't reference it the next episode. They did reference it, but you know what I mean. Like something completely different happens next episode. So like that kind of seemed like something that maybe it's something they had planned for a long time that they were like, we're not going to get rid of this. But yeah, it's not necessarily like a courtroom situation.
That show that was being described before all this happened sounded extremely boring.
It seemed like there was no action.
But there's nothing. This is not boring.
Right. Now, that's where I go back to, like, the messaging on that was probably a little harsh. Right? Like, because I don't believe even your biggest Marvel critic and if somebody that thinks that Marvel is just complete idiots, I don't know if I were to believe that they weren't going to do a Daredevil show with any action at all, right? Because all the Marvels that they've done have had some level of action, even if like Agatha has some action. It's not a lot, but there's action in it. So I'm like, even if I told you, like, it's not going to be anything like a Netflix show, and it's going to have some goofy moments and stuff, but like it's not going to be anything like Netflix. Like She-Hulk's got action, right? But She-Hulk's, I think that's what this is, right? It's a little bit closer to She-Hulk. It's different, much different tone and everything, but it's closer to She-Hulk than and I'm not gonna say it's closer than it is to the Netflix show, but it's like
I
the
disagree with
Netflix
that.
show. It's
I
like
think
the
it's way
Netflix
closer to
show.
the Netflix show than She-Hulk. I
Yeah, that's
totally
what I'm
agree
saying.
with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree
okay.
with that. I'm saying I'm
Okay.
not gonna say that, but
Oh,
it's
right,
the
right.
Netflix show, but it's going closer in the direction of She-Hulk, right? Like if, on that spectrum of like, of whatever you want to call it, like tone. Like if I took the Netflix show and added a 15% She-Hulk, different tone and stuff, but format, then
Yeah.
I feel like you get this.
I agree. Like I say, half of like the Fisk stuff, what kind of fits in that lane.
Right.
Like half of it is awesome, and then the other half he's just like doing mayor stuff, and it's kind of goofy. And I'm like,
Like
okay.
the scene of him,
and it's funny. And I'll be honest,
right?
it's fun.
The scene of
it's
him
fun to watch,
with
but I'm like,
with the kids and
I
the
feel like
kids
this,
with the choir
yes.
and they're singing the song. Again,
Like,
would that be in the Netflix?
I'm just like, I don't think that would be in the Netflix show.
Right.
I think that feels very MCU, and it's not bad. I'm not here to say like it's trash.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you're looking for the Netflix Daredevil, that doesn't feel like Netflix Daredevil.
Right, and that's somebody like there are probably plenty of people that like Daredevil because there's obviously there's plenty of people that watch Netflix that don't watch Marvel stuff all the time. They don't follow all the movies and stuff, but they probably watch Daredevil just because they watch everything that's on Netflix, and they may have watched it and thought, "Man, this show is awesome," and keep watching this stuff, even if I don't watch the Avengers movies. So if I told somebody, "Yeah, you don't watch anything Marvel outside of Daredevil," and you're like, "I want to watch this show," those people may be like, oh, "Why does it feel kind of weird?" I don't know. This is how Marvel is. Like, it's fine to me. Like because I like Marvel, but like if you don't watch anything MCU, I think I can see why some people be like, that feels a little weird to me.
And everything is just much brighter. It's just very MCU,
right?
But it is very dark. But it is very violent, though. I mean, like to be fair, again,
it is.
It is violent. And it is mature in many ways.
I'm just talking like just the lighting.
Muse
just
as a
the
villain,
literal lighting of the show.
Well, I guess we could talk about Muse, but like he's somebody that 100% could fit in he fits right in line with the Netflix series. Like
shout out to the show for not killing him off or even arresting him. I like that he just got away. Like that guy needs to be in the mix. We need more of that from Marvel. I'm hoping this is maybe them learning their lesson on this. Of simply just locking up people all the time or killing off people all the time. Like that is not.
Do we think that this is the end of him this season?
No, not at all.
That's just or is
this season. I think it might be the end of him this season. Maybe this season. Maybe this season. Well, we know we're gonna get more Bullseye stuff. I've seen the still shots already.
Okay.
Bullseye's coming. So we're not finished with him. Which that is. I'm waiting for that, man. Like I want game 2 of that fight that we saw for the first episode. Like I'm ready for game 2. Whatever she was, but we will win game 2. That's what Bullseye's saying in his jail cell right now. We will win game 2. So I think because now they got to center the focus on Matt versus Fisk. I think they've kind of been going on parallel journeys, and now that Daredevil is in the costume, and we know Fisk is anti-vigilante, and now he has his task force. I like the task force. Is obviously they represent bad things. I like the idea of the task force. I like the scene of him trying to rev up the task force like they're some damn football team. Like I like all that aspect of it. I kind of wish, I didn't like the execution of like when he launched these people, because basically Daredevil like did the job for them already. Like he I don't know. Maybe Muse can go out there and like he's gonna. Maybe Shamar's right. Maybe he will go out and kill more people. And
I'm expecting him to still be active.
Yeah, so maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that this was like, oh, Muse is gonna go under the hole he was found in.
They got his lair.
They did get his lair.
Yeah, his lair. They obviously he saved Angela. All the bodies are there, so all the like evidence and stuff with Muse is all there. So that's a wrap. Like he can't work from there anymore. So I thought again with only 3 episodes left, right? 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 3 episodes left. I don't know how much more you're getting from him. But that to me then means like, well, then you launched a task force to stop Muse that they didn't actually stop. Now it'd be great to see Matt beat the crap out of some dirty cops, but that's not why they were technically formed. So maybe story right, just a writing thing. I thought that was kind of like a little clumsy.
I feel less confident. When we saw the first couple of episodes, I was like, I think we all kind of agreed that the leader in the ballpark for who Muse is that guy that they showed in line to get the book signed or whatever. from the therapist. For some reason, I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that it was that guy. Like,
Really?
like I could be completely wrong.
Same.
Like, there's been nothing that like necessarily disqualified him. Right? I mean, it's no different than what we saw from the trailer. But just after seeing the way they now introduced Muse and showed him, I'm just like, that's really weird. That like, it could be that again. It could be the guy obviously needs therapy, right? He's obviously got massive issues with the serial killer. But like, I don't know. It seemed like something different.
I think they're swerving. I think they're swerving you. I know what you're saying. I feel that.
But it's like we said at the time. I think that's definitely what they want us to think is Muse for people that are really.
The only thing about it, and maybe this comes to the body double thing, but like or stunt double thing. I feel like that guy has much more stature than Muse.
Yeah.
Like, and not even just taller, also just like more like built on his shoulders. Like Muse looks kind of like meek. Like the fact that Daredevil kicked the crap out of him. Like, first of all, I like that. Like, let's normalize also like. Yeah, when like Daredevil or someone like that goes 1v1 versus someone like that, like he should murk them.
I'll be honest. What happened? I thought Daredevil when he was fighting the one guy, the Irish guy. I was like, this fight's going way too long for me.
I couldn't tell that Irish guy was maybe like a villain that I wasn't familiar with, and forgive me, I didn't.
It almost got there for me, and then he broke his leg, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, I'm like, damn, Matt, lock in, man. Like, I know he may not be in game shape, but lock in, man. Like. He put on the red mask and
he's all like, you know.
Yeah, he took a lot of blows.
And hits. I'm like, oh, jeez.
I was like, this is like a, I was shocked.
Yeah, I'm like, man, you got bullseye next to you. You're like kind of taking blows from this guy.
Yeah. It's like after a UFC fight, I'm expecting Matt to be like, yeah, I was fighting with I tore my ACL in camp. I was fighting on one leg or something like that. Because he seemed like he was going way worse than I expected. But yeah, with Muse, like you said, that was the second time I was watching. Like, all right, you better knock this guy out because there's no way this guy can win a fight like
Daredevil. He couldn't hang with him at all.
Yeah, he was putting up more of a fight than I thought he would. Actually,
he also did as well. But
he got a couple.
I think this gotta be a fight. I don't think it can be just like just a complete jobber situation. But
right, but that's something that. Depends on again Batman and Daredevil characters like that. Like a lot of times they're villains. Like sometimes they're villains can be people that obviously can fight, ninjas or something like that. But then sometimes it can be somebody that again just knows how to shoot an ice gun or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm like with Muse. There's nothing that inherently makes you think like, oh, this guy's kind of hand-to-hand wizard. But
sure, yeah,
which is why it made sense that he beat him up, but. Like you just said with the other guy could be somebody, right? He could be somebody we don't know that we don't know, and that's where again his name might be something really good. They gave him a pretty featured role. It could just be random Irish thug, but
yeah, I kind of assume maybe he's gonna end up being somebody important, and we still don't know, I guess, who technically they were working for, right? Like
the Luca guy.
They said Luca, right?
Oh, right, it was Luca, right? Yeah, so
we don't really know much about that guy.
Yeah, we don't know much about Luca.
But it seems like he's not that far off of Kingpin in terms of
he wasn't scared of him.
Enterprise.
Yeah, he walked in there as I'm not paying 1.8 after 2.8 million. I'm paying that. Like, yeah, I'm like
he's got
Fisk is definitely going to smash this guy's head into something, and it's going to be
that's you would think so.
Graphic, but probably still really awesome to see. But yeah, man, no, this was, I think these were two really good episodes. I am seated and ready to go for these last three.
What did we make of Frank Castle's return?
That was in episode 4. I thought it was just okay. I'm gonna be real. I was cool. It was cool.
I'm surprised.
It was cool. It was fine.
That kind of reminded me of the Netflix show a little bit.
Yeah. That to this day, that's still my favorite scene of this season, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Wow. Incredible. Yeah, so here's the thing. I'll be real, guys. Like, I feel like the Netflix show did those scenes much better. I'm just being real. Like, I watched those two act in those scenes, and I feel like it, it wasn't bad. It was not bad. Like I said, it was cool. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I was probably smiling while I was watching it. But, like, I was like, okay, I've seen this. Like, Matt comes in, like, yo, what the hell? And Daredevil being like, oh, like, the problem is you're too weak. And then Matt's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And they go their separate ways. They don't ever really actually agree on anything. But they don't.
This was
But there's like a mutual respect though that still sticks between them, and they kind of move on. Like that's what we've seen. And again, like it's not to say that that's bad or anything. Like more of a good thing is a good thing. But I feel like the rooftop scene in the season 2 of Daredevil is some of the best acting I have ever seen in anything I've watched. So that's one of my favorite scenes of any show or movie I've ever seen. So I'm comparing that to this, and I'm saying that I've seen that already. This was cool, and I also was like, maybe this is me being like, I don't know, maybe this is me bringing my personal, I guess, biases to this. I hate to use that word, but let's use it. Like, I kind of also didn't respect like Frank's response to the fact that like people were like using his logo to like kill people. Like I just feel like Frank would have like taken that more.
We all assumed that his response would be a lot more heated.
Yeah,
but he seems like this is him in a different place.
I thought it would too, but I bought it because I'm like he's broken. Like clearly this is not Frank Castle.
Right. They're building that back up. I mean, we know we're getting a Punisher.
Yeah, we're getting a Punisher show, and hopefully we get some kind of explanation as to where his mind is. But this is not like he's in some basement locker room.
Oh yeah,
like this isn't the Frank Castle we saw in the Punisher. Like the Frank Castle we saw in the Punisher probably would have done something.
Right.
Like this is not that guy. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I buy that.
It's funny. Like I feel like EJ. I feel like you were like. This was like, this is like Triple H and Batista feuding like 2018, 2019, where it's like, man, this isn't how it used to be, man. Like, these guys used to be in their prime and used to be great.
It's not to say that, like, it's definitely not anything against those two actors. John Bernthal and Charlie Cox are absolutely in their prime still in terms of how well they are as actors. I just feel like those scenes were, again, they were not bad. I feel like episode 4 was probably my least favorite episode of the episodes we've watched. So, or maybe 2 was probably the least one I like the least, but so see somewhere between 2 and 4. That scene was, again, I thought it was good. That was cool. That's how I described it. Again, it wasn't like it was anything like crazy or bad or anything like that. They didn't do anything wrong. I just felt like a lot of the same.
I mean, did that moment hit for you at all? Because that joint hit me. That hit me right in the feels. Because that was like that's been the whole. Because I'm watching the show the whole time and I'm like, put on the suit, and Frankie just pointed out he's like, so he's a problem, right? Foggy, you can't even look at it. See, you can't even say his name. Say his name. That's the problem. He's like, no. He's like, say his name. He's like, you have to say, and he kind of drew it out, and I'm like, this is when we get Daredevil.
The one time,
this is why he's not fighting. This is why we keep seeing him in this courtroom instead of doing what we know that he should be doing.
I thought that was a cool moment. I was during the scene. There were times where I was like, man, how does Frank even know all this? He's been under a rock.
Yeah. That's
I'm like, how do you know about that? You knew. I mean,
now, to be fair,
but
these things seem to have been very public. Like the murder, the life sentencing, the trial of Dex was a big deal.
Right.
I feel like that he murdered like a pretty prominent lawyer, like probably would have been a big deal. Like, I gave them a little rope on that, but I was with you, Kendall. I was being like, man, like he's been really reading the papers. Like,
I was kind of wondering. I'm like, oh, okay,
he's been in the hole. And he was like,
now Foggy represented him, so it's not like he didn't know Foggy, like he did.
Right.
But again, it kind of was like it's kind of like it's very. And Frank Castle is a walking contradiction. I know that for the listener, but like, okay, he doesn't care about people like using his logo, or he doesn't even know what's happening really, but then he knows everything about like Dex and Foggy and like the murder scene. Like I don't know. I just seen that I thought was a little. So I thought the writing on that was I'm not gonna say sloppy. I think that's too harsh, but I just thought it was very forgiving for like what we're trying to believe with this iteration of Frank. That was just my opinion. But again, it was not. I thought it was good. It was was
Do you
captivating.
think that we're going to see any more Bernthal or see him in his costume? They don't have to, right?
I actually don't.
I don't. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's all we needed. I think that's all we
Yeah.
needed. I don't. I think because
I mean,
there was no there was
Daredevil.
no resolution for Frank in that. Like I think like Charlie and like Charlie, Matt didn't try to convince him. Like I think
Yeah,
that was
right.
not that scene wasn't for
Yeah,
Frank.
it wasn't.
So
He
just a
trying to get
cameo?
Punisher to come out.
I know it was a cameo. It was a real scene. Cameo is like you just show up and you like.
Well, it's a
background.
cameo in the. I'm saying for the entirety of the season. All we get is one scene of that's a cameo. Even if it's conversation, that's all that is. It's one scene in the entire season.
But it's significant though.
It's not even an action sequence. It's just them talking.
Yeah, I see you. I wouldn't describe it as a cameo. It's too to me. It was too important to see. I think a cameo is just like, is a Blade at the end of Eternals where he didn't even show up, but like you hear his voice. Like that's a cameo to me. That's like something like that, or Sam Jackson at the end of Iron Man.
I think
Like-
that this is the exact same as what's Bucky showing up in Thunderbolts. Like that's a cameo. The scene they're talking it's an important moment.
You mean Captain America?
And Captain America Brave New World. Like it's a cameo, but it wasn't like a blink.
Would you describe Skrull Rhodey in Winter Falcon Winter Soldier as a cameo? This to me was that. I don't think that was a cameo. I think that was a scene that he was in. He's not a main character, but it was a scene that he was in. I don't know what I would call it, but I wouldn't call it a cameo.
That's fair.
That's how I look at it.
That's fair. Then the question though is just like, again, like we've waited so long to see the Punisher. Like to not have any action sequences, an interesting choice.
I mean, I don't know, but you seem to think that we will see him.
I think it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like you said, there's not a whole lot of time left. They brought him up again in this last episode with the
how many episodes in the season?
9.
I mean, we got
3 episodes.
We got 4 more? Oh no, yeah, you're right. We got
3.
So like we don't have a ton of time left, but they brought him up. The therapist brought him up, said, let me see Frank Castle. He's like, come on now, you don't want the Punisher, but like,
which again speaks to how famous he is or infamous.
Right, exactly. Right. Which that seems consistent with what they had introduced in the.
And that is, if we're talking about MCUifying the show, that part of this I like a lot. Like we always talk about
aliases and stuff,
like this idea that because when we talk about MCU and define things, and again, we've all had our beef with the MCU of late, but sometimes it just is brought up as an automatic negative. I'm like, oh no, the city all knowing who Frank Castle is and him being like, a 2-name reference that everyone knows, is great. Like that is the comic books. That is what we've been asking for. We haven't had that. Like, so there's some things that this show I think has done that has been really good. Like again, I like that Swordsman's now becoming a thing. I like that White Tiger was a thing. Like that. Those are the things that if you're trying to talk about building a connected universe, that are good.
That's the other thing that I hope going. I mean, we'll see obviously how the season ends, and we'll lead into season 2. But the one thing that I hope for season 2 of this show is that they give them a bigger. We may get it, but I hope they give them more freedom and a bigger roster of other heroes to bring in. Because you're going to do this kind of a show where it is sort of week to week, and one week is about this, and next week is about that, and next week is about that, and it's these different cameos. Like, I'd wish they'd have bigger characters, right? I know. Look, you get Spider-Man, but like, there's a lot of heroes you can do in between Spider-Man and Swordsman, right? Or Kamala Khan's dad, like there's a lot of cameos you can do in between that. Like Moon Knight, right? Like Moon Knight should be definitely in the next season of the show, and there's other characters on that tier that I think we should be showing up.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you guys saw the picture.
Cool. I feel like that's like the extent of what they got.
Yeah, I mean, he showed up in Echo show. Echo could show up here.
Yeah,
Echo.
No. Yeah, Echo. I think Echo. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he somehow shows up in this season.
Kate Bishop or Jeremy Renner.
One other. And the last thing we saw too, we saw online, the black suit is coming. Maybe season 2, but it's coming. Those pictures.
That was really cool. I mean,
shocked that Marvel allowed Getty Images photos to get out of
Yeah,
the Black
that
Suit
was one of
Daredevil.
those like leaks where you're like kind of like the leak from Doomsday, like or Secret or whatever it was, like a month ago. It's one of those where you're like, this. Did you guys put this out there? Like
Right.
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
clear as day. Like you might
Yeah.
as well put a
yeah.
Marvel
I mean, they
insignia
did.
on.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
being
they're
now it's
looking at
being
the reception and
spe-
saying like,
yeah.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
mean,
people
well,
being
we
like,
need
"Oh, I
this.
haven't seen Daredevil," and like he's not even in the costume. He's like, "Yeah, don't worry, we got something cooking."
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's being courtesied as Getty Images. Right? It's an
Right,
official. These official
right, no
photos.
leak.
Yeah, it's not leaked. This
Um,
is what they
they
wanted. So
called over a photographer. Like, hey, we need you
yeah,
here on set today. He's gonna
pretty
be
much.
he's gonna be in costume.
Yeah,
I mean, look, it's in line with how we saw him basically in the cartoon with Spider-Man Friendly Neighborhood.
right.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
It's a
they've kind
little.
of been
It's
lining
just a
in this
little.
direction.
Yeah, it's just a little janky in terms of like the coloring of it. It looks like he literally made just like kind of the makeshift spray painting job.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought it looked
so
cool.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah,
no, I'm not. I wasn't even. It wasn't a commentary on it being bad or good. It was just
right.
like
Just the style of
I
it.
right.
Right.
Like I thought, oh, this would be like a suit made
Oh, I
for a
see.
black suit.
Right.
Like clearly, it's like he took a red suit and then just painted over it and then
Right.
did the
Right.
double D logo, which is so cool. The double D logo is back, but like or first inserted in the movie verse, television verse. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is not like an actual black suit. This is like a suit he painted black. So I'm curious
Yeah.
what the story is behind that and why he wanted to put the double D's on there. So I'm fascinated by all that. But we're going long here, guys. But I think this is a good place to leave it today. So I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of New Generation Hero Talk. Of course, if you enjoyed this episode, you can catch all our episodes wherever you get your podcast. That's you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn. You can find us there searching New Generation Podcast Network. Follow us also on YouTube, New Generation Media. Follow us on social media, Twitter, New Generation Pod, Instagram, New Generation Podcast, as well as Facebook. You can find us New Generation Media. And follow us individually on social media. Shamari's on Instagram and Snapchat, MCChan22. Kendall on Twitter /X, New Gen Ken. You can find me on Twitter /X, EJ_Stewart, Instagram and TikTok, EJ. That'll do it for now. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. For Kendall and Shamari, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.